In June of 2023, I went public with the fact that I have HIV and AIDS caused by the unfaithfulness of my husband of 35 years. It took me 2 years after we separated in July 2021 to work through the grief and betrayal caused by this diagnosis and my now ex-husband's actions. I don't want to dwell on the emotional chaos caused by both the betrayal and the diagnosis. I've worked hard in counseling for 2 long years to become a healthier, freer, more emotionally grounded version of myself. So, after all that work, why did I go public with a diagnosis that carries such great stigma and pain? There are a few reasons, and I know this will answer some questions for many of you who have followed my journey, some of you for over a decade, as I've shared my life online through Marty's Musings blog. Number 1, I despise secrets. So much of my life had been shrouded in secrecy and all the things I didn't know. I didn't want to carry the HIV diagnosis alone or allow it to isolate me from those I knew would rally around and support me. Going public, honestly, was a gift, as friends from all seasons of my life encouraged me and were allowed to see my own courage in staying present in my life and not running from this very shocking, difficult chapter. Number 2, my heartbeat is to help others. My life purpose is to encourage women in hard places with hope. And I knew God was stretching me to allow this chapter of my story to continue to encourage others. Your circumstances may not be the same, but we all share wounds from living in a very broken world. Helping others can change your outlook on your situation and allow you not to feel so alone. Number 3, it gave me a reason to get out of bed each morning. I don't suffer from depression, and because I had already been in counseling for 4 years when I received the diagnosis, I was well on my way to true emotional health and freedom. Those weeks and months with dozens of doctor visits, along with selling the home we lived in for 30 years, weighed heavily on me. However, I am a survivor, and it became my primary goal to live a healthy and whole life in spite of the dire diagnosis I had been given. There are many unknowns with HIV, especially as I age. Since I'm 61, I've had to become aware of what could happen and yet still live every day to the fullest. Number 4, to educate others. Those of us with HIV still live under the stigma of a virus that's been a threat for 40 years. By staying silent, I avoided the stigma to an extent. My diagnosis was reported to the health department. It's required. It's in all my medical files, and I go to an infectious disease clinic where I'm not the normal patient. I'm a conservative, middle-class, white woman in my 60s, coming from a 35-year marriage. But I believe sharing my message of hope will help all of us with HIV become stronger together and help battle the stigma. By going public with a YouTube channel, I have the ability to educate others about this virus and hopefully reduce fear for those like me and the general public. I've been encouraged to know people are watching, and as a woman with HIV, I've been given the opportunity to be a voice for an unseen, silent minority. I believe I'm not alone. And maybe there are other women like me who believe it couldn't happen to them. The truth is that it can. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know, and that lack of information can literally kill us. Because of all the years I suffered without a diagnosis, I will always be considered to have AIDS, regardless of the fact I'm undetectable and I can't transmit to others. My CD4 count, the defining measure of white blood cells, hasn't recovered as hoped, and I still live with physical exhaustion. If telling my story helps one woman or person get tested and treated, then I believe my journey will have mattered. I made the choice to live my life in a very public manner. In all honesty, some days I run from it and I have to disconnect from my mental and emotional health. But on other days, I research, write, and shoot videos that I hope and pray will point others to the goodness of God. Obedience for me requires surrender and vulnerability, and only by God's grace do I continue to share the singular hardest thing that has ever happened to me. As always, I'm sending hope and much love to each of you.